21st, 1927, Gladys Kincaid left the Garou knitting mill at the usual time of 5:30 p.m. When she did not arrive home as expected, Gladys's mother and brother went out to look for her, along with a neighborhood friend of the family, a young Fox boy. They found her beaten and unconscious in the bushes a few yards off the road. A passerby stopped, and they took young Gladys to the hospital, but efforts to revive her failed, and she died in the early morning hours. According to the physicians, her skull had been crushed like an eggshell by the blow of the iron pipe. Gladys Kincaid was sent here to Grace Hospital in 1927, where she stayed for 10 hours till she finally died at 3:30 Wednesday morning, June 22nd, 1927. Suspicion fell on Broadus Miller, a black construction worker from Asheville, whom Gladys Kincaid's neighbor Ida Wisnett had seen walking up the road carrying an iron bar just before Gladys had passed by. Ruby Burnett remembered that Broadus Miller had followed her mother, Ida Wisnett, and Gladys Kincaid home from church for a couple of weeks before the killing. It was reported later that Miller said Kincaid was too pretty to live. Sheriff J.J. Halliburton searched the boarding house where Miller stayed and found a bloody raincoat. The hunt was on. Over 2,500 Morganton residents joined Sheriff J.J. Halliburton in the manhunt for Miller, who had been proclaimed an outlaw with $500 bounty on his head. The search went on for next 2 weeks, winding up the Johns River Valley, past Mortimer, and back through Attico and Collettsville, all these in Caldwell County. From Caldwell County, Miller was chased across the Catawba River to Chesterfield and farther up the Johns River to Linville Falls, a community on the Burke County, Avery County line. Commodore Burleson of Morganton and Harrison Pritchard, members of the search party, heard that a store in Ashford in northern McDowell County had been burglarized, and on the morning of July 4th, 1927, they picked up Miller's trail near the Linville Falls station. Having found fresh tracks on the side of the mountain, Pritchard called to Burleson to join him. On the way to meet Pritchard, Burleson saw Miller sitting on a rock. Miller raised a shotgun towards Burleson and fired, missing Burleson closely. But when Burleson returned fire, he emptied his pistol, missing every time except with the last shot, which killed Broadus Miller. After Broadus Miller was shot, his corpse was loaded into a car and carried to Morganton, where an insistent request, amounting almost to a demand, was made that the Negro's body be shown to the crowd. Although it was not reported in the News-Herald at that time, later accounts state that Miller's corpse was dragged through the streets of Morganton. Sheriff J.J. Halliburton agreed to Broadus Miller's body being viewed, and the body was placed on a board at the foot of the steps of the north portico of the jail, an aisle roped off and the throng allowed to pass through one at a time. By actual account, states the newspaper article, more than 6,000 viewed the Negro's remains, and in the line were a score or more of local Negroes. H. Clay Faree, remembering the event, writes that this too would dramatize society's punishing power. It would serve as a convincing example of what rapists and murderers could expect.